Hello, UAT fans. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to an emergency broadcast episode of the Daily Sports Report podcast. Podcast host Ian Pfaffenberger here. I'm joined again today. Justin Naw sitting next to me, sports editor, and not to be seen on the phone over just to the left of us is Haylie Stum. Haylie, you want to say hi? Let the audience know you're there.
Yeah, what's up? Very unfortunate that we've got to do it this way, but breaking news doesn't care that I'm in Houston, so we're just going to keep rolling.
Yep, Eric Morris and the UNT football team does not care we're on Thanksgiving break. As I'm sure all of y'all have seen, Eric Morris has been hired to become the next head coach at Oklahoma State for next season. He is finishing out this season with North Texas football, but this news comes as an absolute just shock kind of at this point in the season, right before the Temple game, right before your most crucial part of the season where you're gearing up to go to an American Conference Championship game, hopefully go to an American Conference Championship game and maybe even a playoff bid. We're all reeling. We all get the story out for the Daily, but we're all still processing this very much. This is fresh news about like 3 hours ago now at this point. Yeah, so guys, I will start with Justin because we gotta bounce this a little bit because he's all the way in Houston. What were your initial thoughts seeing this? Me and Justin were eating lunch when kind of all of this first began to go down. Justin, tell us your side of things.
Yeah, I think it's a funny story. I want to shout out New York SubHub for providing Ian and I with, not providing Ian and I, for providing us with a place to see this breaking news. We were eating sandwiches together, and then I saw one tweet from a Barstool Sports account, and I was like, dude, there's no credibility there. I'm not going to worry about it. And then everyone started really, really enjoying and interacting with this Barstool Sports account. And I was like, okay, I guess there might be something there. So after lunch, Ian and I went straight to the office, and we started drafting up a story for just a potential story for Eric Morris leaving and all that. It's been speculated for a while, obviously.
Yes.
So we just wanted to be prepared. And then obviously Pete Thamel confirmed it while we were writing that story. So I'm very thankful that we were eating sandwiches together, pal.
That was the last happy moment I've had today. Everything else has just been boom, 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 stress. Haylie, what did you think of all this? What was your perspective? How did you find out? Where were you? What's going on in Houston down there? How you doing?
Yeah, so I'm gonna actually go back to yesterday when it was peaceful bliss and everyone was riding the high of the 10-win season so far, hunting number 11 on Friday. I'm at the gym. And then I get a call from Mr. Na himself, and we are talking about potential plans for covering this coaching change that obviously was imminent with, the stock that Eric Morris has built up. But we're planning like next week. We are thinking in advance. We're thinking about how to draw this thing out. And I want to shout out an article from McLean Baxley from Go Pokes 24/7, which is the Oklahoma State site for 24/7 Sports for people who are unfamiliar. And the article yesterday said the expectation has always been that Oklahoma State will make a hire as close to the season ending as possible, either this upcoming Sunday or Monday, December 1st. Athletic Director Chad Weberg said this weekend that the timeline is still on track for that. So upon reading that, from an Oklahoma site, you're anticipating getting a week to plan for this, and this was not on my bingo card for the season, and to be frank, I was doing absolutely nothing related with sports journalism. I was coaching little kids on softball, and as soon as I stepped in my car, I got the alert from Pete Thamel. Shout out Pete over there at ESPN, because obviously
shout out Pete.
So appreciate him breaking the news, but I don't appreciate Eric Morris for dropping this bombshell on us right now.
Yeah. What a Thanksgiving gift that Eric Morris has offered us.
I had a week planned ahead of me. I was like, this is my week off. I've been swamped with schoolwork. There's all this stuff going on in football. It's been a fantastic, busy fall sports season. I was like, I'm going to take this week off. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to come up for the press conference Tuesday. And that's when it all started, didn't it? Eric Morris was not wearing anything UNT related. And that was kind of the first hint of danger to come. Miles over there at the North Texas Eagle made a post. He didn't even say anything, but the repost started reposting, and the people started panicking as everyone noticed, he's not wearing anything UNT related. And then a good, 4 hours later, it happened. It happened. The darkest day in North Texas football in quite a long time, I would say.
Yeah. I think I'm glad each of us shared our stories of where we were when the news dropped. I think it's time that we've got to tackle the real, I think, story in this whole thing. The timing of this is atrocious, and I have all respect for Eric Morris. I really do. But the whole reason we were talking about it for so long in terms of like me and Haylie behind the scenes, or me and Ian, was that like this is really hard to navigate because UNT's on the verge of an American Conference Championship appearance, and then potentially a playoff appearance, right, if they win out. But we kept hearing these rumors from Oklahoma State, from Arkansas, that like they wanted to make this announcement, like Haylie mentioned, right at the end of this week. So we just kind of anticipated Morris to make the, I guess, least drama creating decision and hold off as much as he could, or as long as he could. I guess clearly there was some agreement between Oklahoma State and him where they were comfortable announcing it early. But now, I mean, like, so sorry. My main point being, like, the timing is horrendous. Like, obviously, you have senior day, and then obviously, this team. I'm not going to question if they're going to be focused to finish out the year, but obviously, it just adds a distraction into a year where Coach Morris has just continuously preached limiting them, and now he inserts one directly into the fold. And again, this is not aimed at him in terms of who's at fault. I think it's just the natural cycle of the coaching carousel, but it really puts his players in an unfortunate position to simultaneously care about this season, but then also worry about their standing next year as well. So just really unfortunate all around for a really great season for North Texas as a whole.
Yeah. Haylie?
Yeah, I think I kind of want to echo what Justin said and just to build off of it. I mean, in a perfect world, obviously, we want Eric Morris to operate on the North Texas's ideal timeline, right? But unfortunately, Oklahoma State is in a completely different situation.
Yep.
Having a literally lopsided record compared to North Texas, a 10-1 and then like a 1-10. So obviously Oklahoma State, they're wanting to address it before the dominoes fall in terms of the coaching carousel. Is that ideal for North Texas? Absolutely not. I think what's unfortunate is this is arguably the most historic year that North Texas has ever had, and is still on track to cement itself as the most historic year with conference championship and college football playoff implications. And the fact that this is coming out kind of shifts the narrative of not only is Morris bought into this, mission, which I'm sure he is, but it kind of derails the focus. And then in the same aspect, you're looking around the locker room going, okay, which one of my teammates are going to leave?
Yeah.
Do I stay? It's shifting the narrative, and it's also changing the mindset off of the mindset that needs to be winning football games and bringing a conference championship and college football playoff appearance to this program. And I really want to talk to you guys about if you feel this was the right move for Morris with the amount of moving and shaking that there is going on in head coaching decisions. But there's no doubt that the timing of it is just extremely unfortunate, not only just for the team, but people who buy into this team.
Yeah. No, I mean, in terms of, let's face it, we all knew this move was going to happen at some point. I think deep down, you kind of didn't want to accept it just as a UNT fan, but you knew Morris was going to probably be moving on at the end of the season and probably to Oklahoma State. But yes, to echo what both of y'all said, the thing that, is frustrating about this entire thing is the timing of it all. And like Justin was saying, Morris has been the hugest proponent, the biggest proponent this entire season about limiting distractions. Every single week he's talking about don't pay attention to where you're ranked, don't pay attention to who's losing, who's winning. Even for when this team was ranked for the first time since 1959, he said it's just a number, doesn't matter. And then, this news comes out, bringing on. Also, sorry if there's audio problems. We set this up very fast. The computer keeps bugging. You bring on the biggest news of this entire season that, like Haylie and Justin have said, is sure to be the biggest distraction.
Here's my thing, if you don't mind me jumping in.
No, go ahead.
Something that's a warning sign to me is not even, which obviously this is a little dramatic, is not even necessarily that he's leaving, because we all knew he was leaving, right? Like, it would be very ignorant of us to turn a blind eye to the stock that he's building and the money that could be thrown his way.
Yeah.
However, something is a little troubling to me is the fact that we're wearing neutral colors with no logos on it for a team that you've promised that you're going to finish out the season. You're still mean green through and through until these guys take off their cleats for the final time this year. And obviously that's a very, very small sign, but it's something that I notice. It's just a matter of, okay, I would understand if you're saying, hey, like I'm not going to be at the helm of this team for the rest of the season, but you've still got a job to do. And I just don't understand why we go with that, because obviously now that we know the news, obviously that was an intentional move on his part, because he probably has every color, every logo that this North Texas school has ever had as the head football coach. I don't understand why we make that shift, and obviously that was intentional, and it's just a little troubling to me. I don't know if I'm being, maybe paranoid of some sorts, but that kind of sends me a signal that he's ready to move on before, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're being, what did you say, dramatic? I don't think you're being dramatic at all, yeah, for it to come right before senior day, before Temple, I mean, you at least wanted this to wait until maybe after the American Championship. Yeah, just the timing is bad. And you have to feel for UNT fans, right? Because this exact same thing happened with Ross Hodge at the earlier part of this year. In the middle of the NIT tournament for the men's basketball team, Ross Hodge is announced as the West Virginia, I always say Virginia Tech, as the West Virginia head coach. Basically, effectively, they go on to lose next game, right?
Yeah, they were in the semifinals, and the news had come out prior.
Yeah.
Had rumored.
Yeah, basically going on and effectively, draining the energy out of that team. And what has been, as, Haylie was saying, has been such a magical season for the Mean Green. I mean, the vibes were so high going into this morning. You're 10-1, you're going into a game you're expected to win, and you have the best odds to probably make the college football playoffs with a win in the American Championship. And now, with this news, all of that is kind of gutted out of the fan base and out of the players, like we have been saying. Because now, I guess we can, you get into that now. I mean, let's face it, the big three on offense, Mestemaker, Hawkins, Young, they're probably all going to follow Morris, if I had to imagine. Skylar Cassidy, defensive coordinator, I'm sure him and Morris have great rapport with each other, great relationships. I'm sure he follows Morris to Oklahoma State as well. And I'm sure that's in the back of this team's mind now. It's really hard to ignore distraction when it's coming from inside your own locker room, right? Avoiding the distractions outside and on social media, sure, easy, but when your head coach who addresses you every day is leaving and he's not going to be here next year, and a lot of your brothers around you who you're playing with aren't going to be here next year, I mean, I don't play I don't play collegiate football, but I know that's extremely hard to overcome. And so it's going to be interesting to see how this team plays on Friday, and especially how they play in the American Championship. It's going to see if that energy is still there. I know for these seniors it will be. It's still their last game. It's still their last few games left to play. But just for these guys who, will probably be transferring, or guys who don't know their future, it's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah. I'll even make a distinction, I think, with the Ross Hodge situation, where I'm pretty sure there was no confirmation while there were games still left, right? Mm-hmm. As far as I understand, maybe
I want to say I felt like there was one left, but I'm not sure. Because I feel like I can go back and look it up. You can keep talking, and I'll fact check you there.
Yeah, but I'm honestly at a loss for words. I think like I said, I'm not going to question the effort and energy from the UNT team itself. I know that they're all going to attempt to take care of businesses they have all year. But I just have to imagine psychologically it's deflating, right? Where you're talking about finishing out this year and wanting to do the best you can, but then also simultaneously knowing like this is truly, there's a lot of finality to it. I just feel like it just offers a lot of obstacles that I'm not sure are easy to overcome. Like, and we're on the media side of things. We're going to have to ask players their thoughts about their coach essentially announcing prior to the season ending that he's out, right? And we'll probably talk to Morris again. We'll probably talk to Morris, or not probably, we'll talk to Morris post game against Temple, and we'll talk to players and get their insights.
Ross Hodge was announced to be departing right before the UC Irvine game that North Texas
Other
lost.
final.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then there's actually a good comparison, funny enough. But yeah, even in the Ross Hodge scenario where there was one playoff game left in this NIT run, Morris has theoretically at least 2 more games if they beat Temple as expected, and then if they beat whoever they play in the American Conference Championship, it's probably Tulane, right? A college football playoff appearance. Like, this is announcing a month before essentially he's done. And simultaneously, we know the opening of the transfer window is January 2nd. So I have to imagine that, like, why? Guys, Haylie, I love your insight. Like he's accepted a job while wanting to still, finish out his 2 weeks. But, like, these last 2 weeks are probably the most important weeks of the entire job. So it's like, and simultaneously the onboarding process for his new job is also the most important part of the job, right? Like, he's going to be recruiting to Oklahoma State while he's also game planning for North Texas to be prepared against Tulane.
Oh, absolutely. And what sucks about this situation in the scenario that you're talking about of, the transfer portal on the horizon, and he's going to have 2 feet in 2 different spots, and not even just making a board for Oklahoma State on who he wants to attack and attacking their roster makeup, but he's also probably trying to put in some recruiting efforts with his own players in Denton. I mean, it kind of be, I guess, I'm going to keep using the word ignorant to think that Drew Mestmaker and Caleb Hawkins and even Wyatt Young are not going to go get other high-paying offers.
Yeah.
And because they are. I mean, Drew Mestmaker on CBS Sports was listed as one of the top 10 recruits as I think the exact words were G6 gem. I think that's what he was named as in terms of what players projected to get in the portal will make the biggest difference in FBS. And Drew Mestmaker is that guy. I don't see him following Morris with a blind eye to those offers. I'm not saying he won't follow Morris, but I think Morris has to put in some recruiting effort just a little bit with Drew as well in terms of convincing him to get there. And that's just Drew. Why would you not want a leader in rushing touchdowns in Caleb Hawkins to tag along? And, also your leading receiver who just earned a helmet sticker from ESPN, I'd want him to follow along too. So not only are you making a board that you were talking about, Justin, with the transfer portal opening up, you're also trying to recruit not even just these 3 guys that I just mentioned, but also some players that I'd like to touch on later and get y'all's feedback. And on top of that, let's try to build my resume and North Texas's resume and go beat a team that we're probably like a 50-1 underdog.
Yeah. No, and Haylie, just to expand on that, I want really North Texas fans to understand every part about this. And you're right. Like, North Texas fans have known for a while that Mestmaker, Hawkins, and especially Wyatt Young in recent weeks, they were going to get higher offers elsewhere, even if Morris didn't leave. But now that he is leaving, Oklahoma State will be a premier destination or expected destination for some of those guys. And you're right, there's a bunch of other guys too. There are 2026 commits at the high school level too that are not going to want to come to North Texas not knowing who their head coach is going to be. And that's just, that's flat out just the truth, right? So however many North Texas has so far, which I think has reached double digits at this point for 2026, which is probably about 15, 16. Every recruit that I've spoken to will probably most likely open up their recruitment again.
Yeah.
And then that's just nothing personal to Denton or to the city or to the football program here outside of Morris, but when you sign, everyone knows when you're a high school athlete and you're signing up to join a collegiate program, it's a big portion of that's because of the head coach there. So, Haley's absolutely right. Haylie, you're hitting the nail on the head there, right? Premier guys are going to leave. Backups, people who believe in Morris's vision, who could possibly play at the Big 12 level are going to leave. And then also on top of that, the point that I wanted to add, every high schooler that's committed into the class of 2026, class of 2027, North Texas probably falls a lot of spots down on their top 10, honestly. And then if they're committed already, they might also want to back out as well. So
you've also got the early signing period coming up. That's December 3rd through 5th. And what's that week? The American Conference Championship. That's
man.
So maybe not only are they trying to get some guys for Oklahoma State, but also you've going to have some moving and shaking from North Texas, so it just really speeds up the timeline on a lot of different fronts.
And you know what? I'm gonna, and I apologize again.
No, y'all go.
We
We're
just jumping in.
I'm just still processing.
I understand. And then I'm gonna keep bringing it back to a North Texas perspective. Haley's right? Like, so if North Texas wants to salvage whatever they have left in terms of recruiting, when are they gonna announce their head coach? Because has North Texas essentially bowed out and then been like, okay, well, Oklahoma State announced while my season's still going, so now I have to wait until my season ends before I announce my new guy. Like,
in the statement from Jared Mosley, I'm sure he had more insider information than just finding out today.
Yeah.
He said Eric Morris just told him today, so I'm sure that search has barely gained any ground.
Now,
for the new head coach.
I've spoken to Jared Mosley before, and so he was very transparent during the process, way back in like early on in the football season, where he told me every single year, him and Connor Smith come into every single collegiate year, with a spreadsheet with just a bunch of candidates per every sport, despite how much job security that person has, right? So for Morris, they have people for football who they've outlined previously, and then they've worked with coaching firms or search firms in the past as well. So they'll be able to nail down a candidate, and I have to say, just as objective as I can, I really like the coaches that Jared Mosley has brought in so far, and so. Now, again, there's another question that's going on right now, which is, can you keep Jared Mosley? But from a talent,
if Jared Mosley's gone, oh boy, that's a whole other topic.
But from a talent evaluation standpoint, I'm interested in seeing who the next guy is. Yes, and then the original point I was adding, Haylie, I worry about, again, the North Texas timeline. When can I announce my head coach? When can he start talking to these recruits? Because everything is going to collide timeline-wise. National Signing Day, the transfer portal, the American Conference Championship. So I don't know what North Texas is going to end up doing.
Well, then think about it, which I would not say this is the most important impact, but it's just a domino to consider.
Yeah.
Is who's signing in the early signing period? Guys that you're going to get to early enroll and get to develop for months and get used to your system and whatnot.
Yeah.
So you're telling me you're going to get guys to sign in that early signing period and then early enroll? Probably not, or
No.
at least not at a volume that you would hope.
Yeah.
So you're going to get guys that are signing on February 4th, so you're going to get them in the summer rather than in January, which could be huge in terms of maybe not having as much familiarity with their system come August, which could be a huge hit for that next head coach and program.
Yeah, you're 100% right. North Texas is, in terms of musical chairs, I just don't know who they'll get. I don't know how this is all going to unfold. I don't know if you can announce a new head coach while Eric Morris is still in town coaching this football team. I literally have no clue about. And you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know how much precedent there is for a football coach to be hired in the middle of a collegiate football season. Like I've seen it during the bowl season. I have not seen it where there's literally a regular season game left. There's genuinely a season finale, and again, regardless of outcome, I've just never seen it during the regular season. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what UNT is going to do next. This is a big loss, as we all know. We can start talking about that. I don't know what else is on the itinerary.
I think y'all have covered how devastating this is. For sure. I suppose we can speculate as to the why. We have quotes from Eric Morris from earlier today. There's been times we've been told no around here, and I've always taken that as a challenge. He follows up by saying, I've never complained about anything we don't have. Haylie, I think you were talking about someone on Twitter mentioned as earlier, if y'all didn't know, I think last week, the proposal to increase the student athletic fee got shut down, and someone on Twitter, I think, speculated that might have been a nail in the coffin as to this decision. And I guess just the overall lack of athletic importance going on at UNT. You can't say for certain because Morris is pretty quiet about all of that drama and whatnot. But, you have to wonder because who knows? Is that getting shot down? You're going to be competing with all these big schools to try to retain your other players. So, yeah, Haylie, what'd you see on that tweet again?
Yeah, so I was doing a deep dive to, just drown my sorrows in this heartbreaking news. And although you probably shouldn't just keep scrolling through X comments because that can become a very dark hole very fast, I did find a post that was saying that not necessarily necessarily that it was a nail in the coffin, which I think is maybe what they meant, but it was very telling in terms of that would probably be reason enough, I think those were the exact words, for Eric Morris to turn away from North Texas. And how I interpreted that, which I honestly I think is very valid, is that vote just confirmed a suspicion. I don't know if suspicion is the right word, or a gut feeling that unless something magical happens, North Texas is not going to be able to overcome that hump of complete athletic buy-in from students and people in the community compared to other schools. And that's just the nature of it. And I want to honestly credit a big culprit to it, to the scene that we're seeing in not even collegiate football, but collegiate athletics. It all revolves around a dollar sign, and when you're getting engagement, you're getting money. And when you can't have even the students buy into supporting their athletic teams monetarily, then that's just telling, because that should be the biggest group that has bought in to how well this team is doing. I mean, you see with other schools, like at Tennessee, it's like you have to build up points in order to get in a lottery system to win a football ticket, and we're applauding when we can give so many student tickets away. It's just the nature. It's just the nature of what North Texas is dealing with, and I think maybe circling back to this tweet is with all this buildup of this year, there might have been some hope of, okay, maybe we are changing the narrative of investment monetarily and emotionally to this program. But that vote kind of just solidified that that's not the case. And there's going to have to be the Cinderella moment to happen in order to change that trend. And honestly, I thought that whoever that was, the post was very insightful and got me thinking. But it just raises a bigger question of, will we ever be able to string together more than just 1 year that really gets traction?
Tulane was ranked number 24 in last week's poll, and I was talking with Haylie about it a lot, where like, UNT was able to beat Rice, 54-24? What was that score?
Rice?
56-24. Tulane played against Temple, and they were able to pull off a win. And it was 37-13, but it was much closer, obviously, than a 56-24 win. I just kept telling Haylie, I just don't know if Tulane won unconvincingly enough to where UNT is going to be ranked over them. I think the only question right now is if UNT can also become like 25 and Tulane can be like 23,
Mm-hmm.
So.
My thing is, which I'm not trying to sound biased, I think with the measurables, because apparently they take that into consideration, with the measurables that North Texas has put together this year, along with Tulane and UNT having a common opponent.
I know.
That has great separation. We're not talking wins and losses that are by 3 points or whatnot. We're talking a double-digit win and a double-digit loss. I'm sorry. That should be telling, but of course with the Miami Notre Dame situation with the rankings, a lot of head-to-head stuff doesn't matter as much as some people may think. So it's kind of hard to put yourselves in the shoes of the college football playoff committee when we don't necessarily know the concrete criteria of which they're making their decisions off of.
Yeah.
And one thing I will be nervous about is if this Morris decision has any effect on it.
Because
that's was that what Morris was touching on today? Like, he doesn't know. He said he doesn't even know if there's a group of 5 advocate in there. He doesn't really know who's in there making the decisions. He doesn't know if they get the short end of the stick all the time. Who knows? And so you got to wonder if this decision is going to have an effect on where UNT gets ranked.
That's an interesting point, because I know something similar happened with the college football playoff rankings when we had someone get injured. And they were trying to base their ranking based off an injury. You can't go off of that. I'm not saying that the college football playoff committee won't do that. I'm just saying I don't think that's a fair consideration in terms of, you've got to look at body of work, not predictive abilities, because everyone's predictive abilities could be skewed, right? Justin, being at fall camp, might say that Sawyer Evans, the punter, can punt 70 yards consistently, and he's the greatest punter in America. But if he's never done it in a game, then all these other because, again, everyone's going to have their bias come out in that.
Yeah.
So it needs to go off body of work. Again, not saying that the College Football Playoff Committee will try to not play president and dictate, what people will do in the future.
Hey, short answer. We have no idea what's about to happen, and we're really excited.
We're along for the ride.
we have.
If we're not ranked, we're gonna start crying.
It's gonna be a day of bad news. No, but truly, no. We are. There's more to that than what we're saying. We're saying that Haylie's brought up common opponents, which I think is something that clearly has not been considered by putting Tulane above UNT when you look at that UTSA loss. Now there is something to be said about whatever deal UTSA has made with the devil to where they can win only at home and for some reason just not produce any of the same offense or defense on the road. I couldn't tell you what ended up happening. But yeah, they clearly have not measured strength of schedule, but common opponents as much as they possibly should have, or possibly as much as we think they should have. So I have literally no idea what they'll do in this next poll, and I'm super excited. Can either of you pull it up, by the way?
I am trying. I don't know if it started yet.
It has not started yet.
Yeah. So, guys. Okay.
This happened
I
last
guess
time,
going off of that, I mean, Tulane hasn't done anything to warrant a drop down, or I think for us to be ranked ahead of them. Well, obviously, I think going based off body work, like Haylie was saying, UNT probably should be ranked ahead of them just by common opponents. But as it stands right now, they're most likely going to win out. I mean, they play Charlotte this week, so they're haven't done and are probably not going to do
Come
anything.
on. What are they, Miners?
49ers.
49ers. Come on, 49ers. I want to see something.
As it stands right now, they have not done anything to warrant not being the highest ranked American team. But I think North Texas, especially with the losses of who lost in that top 25.
Not necessarily knowing what the College Football Committee is going to do, but if anyone's on X, you saw the lashback that happened from Tulane getting ranked in that spot, that deemed G6 spot, and not even just media mafia, but John Summerall himself literally going, we are not a top 25 team, basically saying that they didn't deserve that spot. Ian, do you think that that's something that the CFP committee might take into consideration in terms of trying to stay legit in their votes and kind of feeding into the mass majority of what people think? Even the head coach. I mean, the head coach said it.
I know. If we're gonna base if the committee is going to base their choices off of body of work, and they can't take into account the fact that Eric Morris is going to be leaving and that might have an effect on UNT, they probably can't take into effect what Tulane's head coach says about them, right? Oh man, I had another thought process going there, but yeah. I think they still stay ranked ahead of UNT. And it was said on the broadcast against Rice, I guess by the broadcasters, that the committee likes the American. They like the group of five. They like the American. I don't know if there's truth behind that at all, but it's something I've heard, something that's been thrown out there. So I have to imagine Tulane stays in that 23-22 range, and I could see UNT hopping up to that that 25, 24, 23, just behind Tulane range. I honestly think UNT will be ranked at the end of this night, hopefully, because they deserve to be in that top 25. But I don't see a scenario where they are ahead of Tulane. But in terms of if the season shakes out how everyone thinks it's going to, Navy, UNT, Tulane all went out with those tiebreaker scenarios. And with Tulane and UNT being the ranked teams, Navy most likely not being the ranked team, then it would be Tulane and North Texas in that championship game. So I think that's probably how it's going to play out. I don't think the committee's going to do anything crazy, because that's usually not how it happens. And they're probably going to stick with their gut because Tulane was already ranked. That's just how I think things are going to go.
Yeah, and then I think the time for North Texas to get into that spot was last week.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have showed the cards of the CFP saying, hey, we believe in what North Texas is doing and whatnot. If they believed in North Texas, they would have put them in there last week. But now that they've set basically a precedent, you can't take Tulane out. I totally agree. I just thought it was an interesting point that you basically have your head coach saying that they don't deserve that spot when you've got not only North Texas fans, but James Madison fans, really going at it.
Oh, man.
Online
The James Madison news page was mocking the Eric Morris post. He was like, he's like, oh man, how great it is to have a successful team or something like that. And I was like, oh man, just stop it.
Hey,
Stop it.
they'll be joining us shortly.
Oh, they will.
Once their head coach also moves. Latest news, guys, is that the the show will begin after the conclusion of Seton Hall versus USC, which has 7 minutes left in the game, by the way.
Lord.
So we're looking at more of a 7:30 p.m. Start. And so, yeah.
7:30 p.m.
Yeah, everyone watching this is or actually, sorry, 7:30 Eastern time.
Okay, I was about to say like
6:30 for us, 6:30 for Central. My bad. Let me stop speaking Yankee now. Yes, 6:30 our time, guys, which is great. So
well, I guess we can kind of finish the Eric Morris talk. Yeah.
yeah, we might have.
And then we can just move straight into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And not think about the bad thoughts anymore.
This is where I'd love to start with all three of us. I don't know how likely it is. I just don't know if it's even in consideration for Mosley. I think one of the best scenarios that you have left is that someone on that assistant coaching staff or that coordinator staff can become the new head coach. Right, that's the first thing I want to get off. In terms of like the next coaching hunt, I don't know what Coach Skylar Cassidy wants, but he's turned around this defense at several different locations, Abilene Christian, and then obviously Sam Houston, and obviously now at UNT. That UNT defense, guys, and I can tell you definitively, as someone who was here 2 years ago, a year ago, was bottom of the country and then like ninth from the bottom of the country. And so you take over a defense that was historically bad, and you transform them into a defense that's been very, very efficient in defending the pass and extremely efficient at turning the ball over. So that's probably the top of my list in my dream world. I don't know how much money Coach Cassidy wants. I don't know what Coach Cassidy wants in terms of ambitions. I think we talked about it before, Haylie, where he could go with Morris to Oklahoma State now and then increase his resume and increase his reputation as a defensive mastermind and jump to an SEC gig if he wants to at some point. But if he has any ambition of being a head coach currently, hey, why not him? Why not him here?
Yeah, and I think that's the point I was going to bring up, is if you're looking internally, you'd be you wouldn't be sharp-witted if you're not looking at Skylar Cassidy and going, that's the guy I want. I mean, he's a proven leader and a proven impact maker nonetheless, not only just at one school, but two. And not only just at two schools, but immediately. He's not one of those guys to where it's taken him 2 or 3 years to get stuff done. I mean, we saw that last year with Sam Houston going from the worst to the best defense in Conference USA. I think it's kind of in Skylar Cassidy's court, in my opinion, in terms of, we don't know what Skylar Cassidy wants with his career. I guess we need to ask him, if we ever get him available, saying, what would be your projected ideal turnout at the end of this thing. And I guess something that we should talk about is, what is the right move for Skylar Cassidy in terms of maximizing his stock and ending up at the place that he wants to be? Do you follow Morris and maybe generate some looks there and elevate to the P4 now? Or do you try to take over North Texas and basically do what Morris did as well and try to jump from there?
I think also in terms of, before we kind of get into the that good topic of discussion, Haylie, just in terms of, if you're Jared Mosley and UNT trying to find that coach, and like we were talking about earlier, you need to make these quick moves if you want to be competitive next year and get a recruiting class and maybe try to retain players and start getting your coaching philosophy in as soon as possible. Cassidy is that guy. He's already here. He's an internal factor. You already kind of know the players know him. You kind of already know what his philosophy is. He's an easy hire. He's already in Denton, right? So I think if you are Jared Mosley and just the UNT athletic department, you are very much considering Cassidy if you're trying to be competitive next year and want to if you want to even sniff what the team has done this year, I think you are heavily looking at Cassidy. But getting into what you were mentioning, Haylie, I don't think there is a bad path for Cassidy here, right? On the one hand, if you follow Morris and go to OSU, you basically become what UNT was this year, right? I mean, that Eric Morris' offense is going to be great no matter who he has. I imagine Mestmaker is going to follow him there. It's what Cam Ward did when he went to Washington State. I also will probably imagine Caleb Hawkins might follow him there since he's an Oklahoma native from Shawnee. from anyone else, you never know. You never know what those NIL deals are going to be. The transfer portal is crazy. But then if Cassidy follows him, he pairs fantastic with Morris, just like he has at UNT this year. That Oklahoma State defense is going to be stout. Haylie, like you were mentioning, he turns around defenses as soon as he gets there. He's going to bring in his transfers. He's going to bring in guys that he wants to bring in, and that defense is going to be great as well. And I think you see if Cassidy follows Morris, I think you see Oklahoma State become competitive again next year, just like UNT has been this year. Cassidy really is. He has been that guy for Morris. Morris, you know what he can do on the offensive end, but those historically bad defenses brought down his first 2 seasons here at UNT. 5-7 and 6-7 his first 2 years. I saw a tweet earlier. Eric Morris went from almost being on the hot seat to being hired at OSU in the span of a year. And that is thanks to Skylar Cassidy and what he has done with his defense and being able to uplift UNT and shine a light on Morris and what he does for an offense. And then, on the other hand, if he stays at North Texas, I think you have a way better retention rate. I'm sure he was in talks with those 2026 recruits. I'm sure you could probably keep a couple of those around, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You could probably keep people who are on the fence about transferring now after hearing head coach Eric Morris is about to leave. Maybe guys like Ethan Weslowski, who have 1 year left. Does he have 1 year left of eligibility? He's a junior.
He's a junior.
Yeah. Those safeties, Patrick Smith-Young, Evan Jackson, one of your many defensive linemen that you have, a lot of the freshmen that you have on the team right now who are hoping to get some reps next year. If he becomes a head coach, you definitely have a very high retention rate. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to that offense. Just that now that Eric Morris is left, and you probably lose a lot of your key players. But I really don't think you can go wrong if you're Skylar Cassidy with whatever move is going to happen.
Yeah, there's a couple people internally on that coaching staff that I'm really curious as to what decisions they'll make. The first one I'll go with is Patrick Hobbs, the running back coach. Mm-hmm. He's been here prior to Morris getting here. He was back here when Luttrell was still the head coach, and he's a UNT alum. He's a UNT legend, and so and that's not even to discredit Morris's offense here, but Hobbs has been producing great running backs. Basically since he was hired. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if necessarily he's going to want to move with Morris to Oklahoma State. He's actually, he's obviously an Oklahoma native, and so that's the reason why Caleb Hawkins ended up here, is that personal connection and his reputation in Oklahoma. It would be a great fit for him, obviously, but I'm just curious as to essentially what kind of matters more to him. I don't know if he can get some elevation. He was a run game coordinator this year as well. I don't know if he wants to try to elevate to become an offensive coordinator. I don't know what his ambitions are at all. And then speaking on that topic as well, Jordan Davis, who's the current OC at UNT. Obviously, Eric Morris has been in charge of the actual play calling, but that's his official title as OC and wide receivers coach. I think it's really hard. I think being a coordinator under a coordinating head coach, right? So, obviously, Jordan probably deserves a fair share of credit as to what North Texas has been able to accomplish in terms of, offensive production. But it's a little hard to get that recognition, especially at a national level and coaching level, if constantly Eric is kind of the one who's getting all the praise and attention for coordinating that offense. One would kind of think that eventually, Jordan would want his opportunity to be a full-time play caller himself, right? And is that an option for him where he could be here at North Texas or something like that? I'm unsure about all of these things. We are here on the day of the news, and so we're just speculating as to who the next guy could be. Most likely, I don't think it'll be an internal hire based on the fact that those, if you're Cassidy, right, you want to be with the formula that works for you, right? You want to obviously, if you can produce defense anywhere, why not with the offensive mastermind that's your counterpart, right? And then same with Cobb, same with Jordan Davis, right? I think it's probably more beneficial for them to head to Oklahoma State and keep riding off the success that Eric Morris has brought with him consistently, location to location. That's a guy who found Cam Ward in the mud. That's a guy who developed a guy and brought him to the NFL. It is truly incredibly special, I think, what Eric Morris has done with these programs, and especially here in North Texas. And so I imagine they'll follow him. If they don't, Jared Mosley probably knows as well as we do that retaining one of them would probably be great too.
Yeah, I'd love to talk optics about the whole Skylar Cassidy situation, because obviously that's probably the person a lot of fans are looking to right now. Let's frame it from a North Texas standpoint and then Oklahoma State standpoint.
Okay.
So you're taking over a North Texas program that has the most historic year after they win, or if they win against Temple, I guess I should say. That's the most wins the team's ever had, recorded the second 10. I don't want to hear about the forfeit. We're just going to disconnect the season right now because that thing is so frustrating. So we're just going to say they just recorded their second 10-win season. If they eclipse 11, that will cement them as the most successful team in North Texas history if we're looking at from a record standpoint. And then if they make the conference championship, win that, go the CFP, obviously that would further that more. If you're Skylar Cassidy, you're basically tasked with keeping the magic alive, with the magic men themselves basically gone, right?
You're rebuilding the ruins of Rome.
Yes, and your resources are slim. You know, make lemons out of lemonade, but the lemons you've got to buy with $5 million. Okay?
If that.
Let's go to the Oklahoma State standpoint. You tagged along with Morris. Again, I think, Justin, you made a fantastic point in terms of finding that complementary counterpart to your skills with Eric Morris. Not only that, you're coming into a terrible situation at Oklahoma State. If you just add one more win, that looks really good, and you're, quote, making a difference there. So you've got a little bit more leniency, a little more give. Also, you have so many more resources in terms of NIL, in terms of donors, in terms of a fan base that really buys in. There is something to be said about the environment that you're playing in and also the engagement that you get with fans. I think that is something that matters to players in this era that money really rules the world. I still think that the culture does matter to most players, and I'm sorry, North Texas just doesn't have a consistent one. If I'm Skylar Cassidy, I'm wanting to go somewhere where not only will I not have to feel a sense of urgency to, you know, basically save a program, but rather just continue to be doing what I'm doing and just add a few wins. And that looks good. And you're also going with a coach that you know you work well with. So I think Cassidy's gone, in my opinion.
Yep. And that's now for Jared Mosley and the hiring crew. That's the pitch to the next head coach, right? It's like how do you pitch like we don't want to be a stepping stone school anymore? How are you going to come in here and build this program up now and not use it for kind of a one season wonder, show how good you are and then go to a better offer, right? Because it's not enticing at all. Like you were talking about, Haylie, like why would Skylar Cassidy probably take this job where all the magic men have left instead of, going with the safer option and probably the more, the better option of going to Oklahoma State with a system that works well for you. And that's just the pitch to every coach who comes here. Into an environment where sports is not valued, into an environment where NIL is not very high, into an environment where roster turnover is super high, just all of these different things. So pitching that for a new head coach, whoever Jared Mosley has in mind, is difficult. It's hard. It's gonna be
and I wanna touch on the pitch that you brought up that Jared Mosley may be giving to the coach about turning the narrative of having to continuously rebuild or be a stepping stone program. Jared Mosley went on X today, and I'd like to read his post. So he was responding to Miles at the UNT6, and Miles said, "You look at the situation. Wow, I'm so tired I can't even pronounce my words.
Situation.
And it's just the biggest blow to UNT in the 110-year history. Greatness could be wiped away completely. Unfortunately for UNT, they will always be the stepping stone to something bigger and better. UNT is now in a full rebuild," the tweet goes on. Jared Mosley responds and says, "Just remember, we led Division I 2 years ago in new players, and we had the second most new players going into the season. Try not to panic just yet. Rebuilding is the new norm." So I don't even think he's going to pitch that, hey, we want a coach that's going to change this narrative. It seems like from the horse's mouth that they are embracing that this school is a rebuilding stepping stone program. And that just goes back to the conversation we had months ago, is how do you buy into a program if you're a fan, if you're a donor, if you're any of these people, if you're a potential player, how do you buy into a program that has no consistency? How do you feel like you can develop, if you can build your stock, if you've got something that's ever-changing, leadership is ever-changing, and you feel like you don't have the support that you could get elsewhere.
Yeah. All of a sudden that no vote on that student athletic fee seems a little less passable, doesn't it? Yeah, Justin, you good over there?
Yeah, guys, I'm going to buy an On3 account real fast so we can look at this hot board
Still
of
waiting
candidates.
for this college football playoff. Yeah. I guess moving into how does this impact, I guess, now the rest of the season going into this Temple game, right? Haylie, you wrote on these notes. If you're a captain in the locker room, how do you drown out the outside noise? I don't know. How do you, right? The captains going into the season were all seniors, right? You had Gabe Blair, you had June, you had Sawyer Evans were the captains, all seniors going in. I figure for these seniors, it's probably a little easier to not get affected by this news right now. You kind of, not that you're not playing for your team, but you kind of are playing more for yourself in a sense. Like, okay, this program is gone after this year. These are my final 2 to 3 games, however more we're going to play. So we're going to go out there. We're going to go hard. We're going to support the rest of our team. So I'm sure for them, it's a lot easier than the rest of these guys. If you're one of the star players like Mestemaker, like Hawkins, like Young have been, we can all guess what they're thinking, right? Where am I going to be next year? Where am I going to be next year? Am I going to be with Coach Morris up there? What are my NIL offers looking like? What's the future looking like? And I'm sure that's been in the back of all of their minds, especially the second half of the season. But now that this Morris news has come out, that I'm sure that's way more at the forefront, and it's going to be very hard to block that out. And then if you're not one of those star players, quote unquote, if you're one of those role players, if you're one of those guys who doesn't play every down, you're thinking, okay, head coach is gone, a lot of these other guys are gone. The head coaching search is a question mark. Who knows who's going to be the coach here? Who knows what coach is going to stay next year? Where am I going to be next year? I mean, I don't get much, and I probably don't get NIL money. I don't get big deals. Head coach is going to a bigger school where he can probably get bigger and better recruits. Where am I going to be next year if it's not here? What if I don't want to play here? And I'm sure that's all been at the back of their minds at least a little bit, but now it's all at the forefront. I don't know how you drown out the outside noise to answer that question. I don't know how you do that.
I'd like to bring up sorry, Justin, I hope I'm not cutting you off because you seem really excited at whatever you're looking at.
I am,
but
no worries.
Okay. I'd like to bring up, not necessarily that I disagree with your point on it being easier for the seniors, but just more of like a devil's advocate point. How hard is it to basically be at the tail end of your collegiate career and you feel like people are withdrawing interest and investment in the program that you've essentially invested your life and your career in? I feel like for me, if I'm putting myself in their shoes, that's something that's a really hard pill to swallow, especially for a guy like Gabe Blair, who's been there for years and years and had my kid at this university and went through an injury and rehabbed it and went in the transfer portal and decided to come back. I mean, you bleed mean green through and through, and then to have, someone at the helm or possibly players that their eyes are diverting elsewhere when you're trying to get, just a really good exclamation mark on your career, and it feels like you've got people that are not in the same boat as you. Or I guess I should argue that you're in the same boat, but you're rowing different directions. That could be something that could be very difficult to navigate, especially when you look at these captains and their seniors, and it's a matter of trying to keep essentially your young players, because those are the guys that are most likely going to get in the portal and build their stock. How do you get them to buy into a culture that, obviously, I'm not saying Morris didn't buy into the culture, but he's leaving. That's hard. I put this question down not knowing the answer. It was just the thought I was having of, you're going into senior day, you're going into all these things, and you're wanting to just have this fairy tale ending to your career at North Texas, and it feels like someone's already shutting the book.
Golly, you guys. I'm going to give us a time update. Seton Hall versus USC has 1:13 left. So everyone just be ready for that to
I'll let something out, I guess, the tail end of that. If this news, not that it was probably ever going to happen, but if this news came a few weeks earlier, or if UNT had dropped a game, right, and we're kind of out of the conference championship, I think it becomes a lot easier for those seniors to
Absolutely.
rally people and be like, okay, hey, the season's not over. Finish it out. Finish strong. We're gonna play together, and we're gonna finish this out strong. But now that
Yeah.
it's so deflating,
We're 3 days removed.
yes. Now that
We're
it's
3 days removed, and there's Thanksgiving in between.
yes. Oh my gosh. Now that imagine hearing that 2 days before things. I can imagine
Now,
because we're here right
I imagine Morris spoke to his team at some point
No, I'm
and
not sure,
kept
sure.
it transparent and whatnot. But both of you guys are right. It's just a hard pill to swallow during a really, really important point where no one no one can really falter for everything to go perfectly, right? Like, you can't blink at Temple. You can't blink at a 5-win team, 1 win away from bowl eligibility in their first year under a head coach in Casey Keeler who's really transformed that place. Like, no one should blink at that. No one should blink at a Tulane team that we might play in the American Conference Championship, especially if, as soon as we find out the rankings today, especially if they're the ones who are going to host the American Conference Championship and North Texas has to play on the road, a place where they've played better recently against Rice and Charlotte, but even Charlotte, right? But recently against Rice and UAB. But for the majority of the year, have not played as well as they have, at home. So it just came at the worst time. And I don't know why it needed to. I understand why it needed to, I guess.
Do we blame Eric Morris or Pete Thamel?
I blame Oklahoma State. Like, I 100% believe Oklahoma State was like, listen, you're going to have to go with this because that's what we need to do at Oklahoma State. And then, Eric needs a job. Eric needs, whatever massive pay raise they'll give him and the opportunity that lies for him at Oklahoma State. This is an opportunity that he's worked for dating back to when he was a tech offensive coordinator, right, guys? And so back when he was at Incarnate Ward. So he had to take this opportunity.
Ward.
At the Incarnate Ward.
Incarnate Ward, W-A-R-D.
Yeah, the Incarnate Ward. But yes, we are going to see the college football playoff rankings very, very shortly. And I'm not going to lie, after we get back from that, guys, I just subscribed to On3 for a singular $1 for like a week.
Oh.
And I have a hot board of candidates that they've listed out, including Skylar Cassidy in the list of candidates.
I figured he would be. I mean, I'm sure he's going to be one of those front runners. Right?
Dude.
Until it's announced after we drop the playoff game that he's following Eric Morris, and all the coaching staff gets gutted.
Now, I'm really excited. I'm really excited to see how everything's going to turn out. I'll end on this. Before we go because I think there's 30 seconds left. I trust Jared Mosey on a lot of different fronts. I think he made some great hires recently, especially with Coach Fleming in volleyball, Coach Burden in women's basketball. Obviously, he's the one who hired Eric Morris to begin with. That was
Coach Cody White's looking like a good hire.
Coach Cody White, we'll see during softball season how that translates. But so far at least, and obviously Daniel Robinson, I think is going through his trials and tribulations right now in men's basketball, but it's men's basketball. It's always a little hard to figure out what's going on.
You also can't expect coaches to come and do complete turnarounds in their first year. I mean,
Absolutely.
You've got to look at Eric Morris. This is his 3rd season.
Yep.
Now, I will say he was kind of in the hot seat going into this year because I mean it's do or die on your 3rd year.
Mm-hmm.
But look what he did. He did.
I have
He
some.
literally did.
I'm gonna reveal something right now, guys, and I'd love to show you guys momentarily. I'll do this on the podcast because I think it's fun. I wrote a draft in last year in the scenario where Eric Morris would have gotten fired if we had lost the game to Temple.
Interesting.
Now, I don't even have enough time to explain why I wrote this draft, but as to put it very shortly, if he had lost that game, it would have been the second 5-7 season, and he would have missed another bowl game, and I don't think he would have gotten fired realistically. But there was a lot of conversations about some change needs to happen. Obviously, they made a DC change, and so probably coming into this year, he would have, like you mentioned, Haylie, he would have been on a very warm seat if 2 years in a row he had the same record. He couldn't make it to a bowl game. And then in this 3rd year, you keep promising that eventually it's going to all culminate together. And if you hired the wrong DC, if Coach Cassidy's going to end up here, right, and you hired a DC that didn't work out as successfully, I'm not sure where you would have ended up. Mm-hmm. So I would have loved to look at that because I looked through it this morning, and there's quotes in there that's talking, honestly, that he's just trying to address all of the sorrow and pain that was happening last year. And we also have the coaching board from On3, and so there's so much stuff that we can talk about.
So much stuff.
I'm waiting for the college football poll rankings.
We will cut right now just so this episode isn't like 8 hours.
I can't wait.
And then we will come back when the college football playoff has officially started. We will see you after this commercial break. Just kidding. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we just watched the college football poll be revealed, and it appears UNT is not going to be ranked. They're on number 9 right now, which is Notre Dame, and UNT did not fall anywhere within the 20 to 25 range. Tulane was ranked at number 24. Yeah, they're all the way at number 8 now. UT's definitely not going to get ranked. Thoughts, Justin? Immediate thoughts behind this? What does this mean for UNT? Sorry, I'm actually popping. If we look a little concerned, that's why. We're also concerned about this poll because what's going on.
Ian, I think we haven't considered yet that could be ranked 7 right above Oklahoma. I feel like we just haven't thought about that yet.
I think we're better than Alabama, Notre Dame, and Oklahoma, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The body of work, guys. Could they?
I mean, we have better records than them. We're at 10-1, right?
All this really means is that we will be headed to New Orleans for the December 5th game for the American Conference title. And that is, of course, as Coach Morris has reiterated, as every player that we've ever spoken to has reiterated, that is contingent on North Texas going 1-0 this week and beating Temple. Following that, and Tulane handles business at Charlotte, and we're still holding out. We're still holding out, guys. For a 49er upset. Have they? I don't think
stranger things have happened.
I don't think they've won a conference game this year.
No, they're so bad.
So
bad.
We'll see. Maybe they can injure Jake Retz. I don't know. I don't know. That's about the only scenario in which I could see Charlotte say number 5 right above Oregon. I knew it.
Yeah.
But yes, Haylie, any thoughts?
Not any that no one's probably thinking, right? Just really frustrating. I think the frustration came from the ranking last week. I don't think there's any surprise with the ranking this week. The disappointment started last week when Tulane was ranked above North Texas, which, again, I know we've already talked about. I would argue against that ranking, and so did John Summerall. So if you've got the head coach arguing against it, then I think we should take heed of what the College Football Playoff Committee is doing and ranking. And I think there needs to be better criteria and concrete basis of ranking moving forward. That's just on a wide scale thought. But yeah, no surprises on my end. Again, really got to win that Temple game to even get to New Orleans. I feel like we can already make plans for that because, you are playing a team in Tulane's scenario where, you should be beating Charlotte. And then if North Texas doesn't beat Temple, then honestly, we didn't deserve to be ranked in the college football playoff anyways, although people were up in arms about it. So yeah. Just a really disappointing last week.
Man,
for
this has been
North
a rough
Texas,
day.
despite a 56-24 win.
Yeah, we only have bad news for North Texas fans. Just to keep updating on everyone, Tulane as a 12 seed is still slotted to play Texas Tech at the 5 seed. And so, of course, if North Texas were to beat Tulane in the American Conference Championship, we'd also play Texas Tech in the American Conference title. And what a fitting end that would be for Eric Morris's era at North Texas, right? Return to the alma mater and try to play against them.
It's all scripted.
It is, no, you guys are absolutely right. Yeah, nothing, rankings-wise, that is about it, right? Unless you guys want to add anything else. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I'm glad that the voters never even blinked at James Madison. I did not understand the hype for James Madison in the slightest. That Sun Belt Conference is just by far worse than the American on so many different levels. So I'm glad they made the right choice on that end. I think they made the wrong choice in Tulane, but we shall see.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the rankings aren't going to matter all too much if UNT can beat Tulane in the American Conference Championship. I know there's crazy tiebreaker scenarios, but it's not really much to worry about if you're a UNT fan. Obviously, it sucks just to not crack that and have that number 20 whatever you are on the score bug for this last week. But nothing to be scared about in terms of where you sit on potential playoff seedings. But yeah, it sucks. It sucks, obviously, and they probably should be ranked ahead of Tulane. But it is what it is. I'm sure they're going into this week not thinking too much of it because there's a lot more storylines going on besides that.
I was going to say they could have some other things on their mind.
They have a lot of things on their mind. But hey, what a day, huh?
What a day.
What a day. This has been it's been a fun episode, a fun emergency episode. This is not the day any of us expected we were going to have. We're all on Thanksgiving break, so it's just supposed to be a calm presser day, and then boom, bombshell, boom, UNT not ranked, boom. Guys, this was fun. This was a fun episode. You know what, guys? Enjoy Thanksgiving with your family. Go back. Remember what matters most. It's not football as much as it may seem, as much as this day may be devastating for some of you guys. But yes, we'll be back again probably next week.
Ooh.
Yeah,
We'll be back soon, man. That transfer portal day is going to look a lot.
it's gonna be a
gonna look like a
wild
massacre.
episode. Yeah. We'll be back covering football again because obviously there'll be way more fallout with whatever happens with Temple.
Oh, man, it's 3 days away.
Just some stress.
No, I'm just really thinking about it. I'm like, everything's changed. We're about to wrap up. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
If this team falters against Temple, and let's say not even loses, but just looks considerably worse, there will be so much more discussion about how focused Morris is, how dedicated Morris is to this team and his job. And I'm looking forward to all of the change and all of the stuff that we get to report on, guys.
I know.
Our job is just got considerably harder.
Part of the job.
Part of the job.
I love it.
Show business, man.
Yeah. We've wrapped up for quite a long time here, so we're going to sign off with this one here. Ian Pfaffenberger, Justin Haylie Stum over there on the phone. Thank you guys for tuning in for this breaking news episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys hopefully next week with hopefully some better news. Peace out.
Bye-bye.